7, 6, 5, 3, 2, 1, 0.
Good morning and welcome to Freethought in Florida. Freethought in Florida is a production of the Atheist community of Polk County. We're a 501c3 nonprofit organization. I am Sarah Ray. I'm one of the directors of the Atheist community of Polk County. And this is Tuesday, November 24th, 2020. Before we go too far, I want to thank our patrons over at patreon.com/polkatheists. Patreon is a great way to support the ongoing production of this show and the work that the atheist community of Polk County is doing. And all of that money goes right back into the ACPC and all of the programs that we do. Of course, if you're not available to support the show financially, we would love you to like and subscribe and share the episodes out to your family and friends that you think might like them. My guest today is Dr. Linda Spaulding, pastor of Salt of the Earth Gathering in Lakeland, Florida, founder and executive director of Salt of the Earth International, middle school math teacher and parent of a still teenager?
Still teenager.
Oh my gosh.
I know.
And people are already wondering, what the hell's going on here? Pastor Linda, welcome to the show, and thanks for coming down.
Hey, you're welcome. I appreciate coming.
All right. I appreciate you being here. So we're here to really talk about a program that the ACPC has just launched for our community that is in a partnership with you and your organization that addresses child hunger.
Mm-hmm.
And later, I have a special announcement that I'm about a big charity thing that's coming up.
Awesome.
And I'm so excited.
Awesome.
But first, I have to hear your story. You have I've seen you describe yourself as radically irreligious.
Mm-hmm.
Mm-hmm.
Yes.
And as tempting as it is to just say, define that and start there, let's go back to the beginning and work our way up.
Sounds good. So the beginning, what, the doctor part?
Any of it. Your religious journey,
wow. Well, let me define pastor. Yeah. Let's start there.
Yeah.
A
lot of people have
a knee-jerk.
A picture, yes, like, a picture formatted in their mind immediately of pastor.
You got a pastor on there for you. What's the matter? You getting religion?
Yes.
Yeah. Well, just the word pastor is relative to caring for people. It's just tending to people's needs. That's all that is, and it's all that is to me.
Yep.
We actually don't have a meeting anymore. We stopped that a couple years ago. Just because, actually, it's kind of a feather in our cap, I think, because people outgrew the need. They outgrew the need to gather in this sort of context, formal context, and really began independent spiritual journeys.
Interesting.
Yeah. So my brother and I, we co-pastored together. We're kind of like, what do you want to do now? So we had an opportunity to market ourselves and market our product, or we could see through the blatant arrogance that is, and say, no, we're not going to do that. We're just going to. This was a season that's done. But what season is never done? Well, what season is never done is pastoring, caring for people and doing what, well, quite frankly, Jesus said to do, as opposed to the things that everybody's doing in the name of Jesus.
Right.
So kind of polar opposites there. So that's...
Well, it made me think of one of the very first guests that we had speak at our monthly educational meetings was David Mercer, former pastor, a member of the Clergy Project. And I asked him to talk on sort of that healing when people leave religious belief or leave a faith-based belief or religious community. It's not just the God belief that goes, right? It's often, well, that's all where all my friends are, and that's where my family is. And some particularly more culty churches are happy to excommunicate you completely,
Correct,
and
yeah.
nobody's going to talk to you anymore. And so you often, when you come to the conclusion that maybe I don't believe all this, you lose a lot more. And so there is sort of a trope of the angry atheist, right? That person, there's a phase so many go through where you feel like you've been lied to by the people who are closest to you and who you trust the most. Maybe you're angry about things done in the name of religion, either to you or at large. And so there's a healing that really needs to take place there, and that's sort of what we wanted to step into when we very first started this organization. I was seeing people just being asshole atheists more online than anywhere, right? You're not don't go into the Ledger comment section and be a jerk in the name of atheism, right?
Right. Because you know better.
Right. You're not going to change anybody's mind. It's not going to do any good. So if one of our goals is we're going to go out there and change the misconceptions that people have about what an atheist is and what we do and care about and what our value system is like, we have to help people heal through that anger and grief and things that they're going through. And so anyway, that's a long way to say I asked David to talk about that. And it's, to me, that's what it is, pastoral. And I know that a lot of people are averse to religious language. But that is what it is.
Yeah, right. It has its origin, obviously, in religion. And it's interesting that that's the angle that you're working at. I love that you and I are really coming to the same center and caring for people in the wake of that.
Yep.
Like for me, it's the cognitive dissonance that goes along with breaking away from the codependent belief systems of organized religion. And by codependent, I mean our sense of stability, our individuality becomes codependent on that collective belief. So it's groupthink, if you will. And, when people break out of that, who am I now? What am I? And purpose. I think one of the deadliest things that ever happened to Christianity was this book called The Purpose-Driven Life. I mean, what a load of crap. It's like, okay, so in other words, we're going to make sure that your allegiances to the organization are secure by saying your purpose for life is now in our four walls.
Yeah.
Like, really? I don't know. But if you read 2 seconds of Jesus, do you realize he called the Pharisees, he referred to them as people full of shit. And he used the Greek equivalent, or well, actually Aramaic to Greek to English, equivalent of the word shit. Skubalon was the Greek word. And he says that they're filled with donkey shit. And it's like, yeah, but anyway.
Right.
I don't even know how I got down that track.
Well, back up.
Let's back up.
So you were a young person. One of the things that I've read about you is you were 12, 13, and doing commentary on 1st and 2nd Peter.
Where did you get this information?
I have my sources. But now listen, I drew to that because I don't know, I was about that same age, maybe a little older, when I started a Bible study club at my school. I was writing sermons and speaking in our church and on what at the time I thought was the track to seminary.
Yes.
That's where I was headed.
Yes.
And look at me now.
Yeah. I was raised with that Baptist mentality of becoming an independent spiritual giant. You had to be that theological giant. And the relationship, I was raised in a community Bible church and then Baptist General Conference from there. So very, very evangelical, very, if you will, right-wing. Grew up in a very Republican, if you will. I don't want to throw out too much political jargon here,
Right.
but it was a
conservative.
conservative Republican community in Indiana, white.
Okay, I'm from Illinois. I know
Get
exactly
out!
where you grew up.
I was actually born in St. Charles, Illinois.
Okay.
And then we moved over to Indiana.
Here, I'll draw a map of where we're from, y'all. Here's the cornfield. Here's the soybean field. And my little town is right here.
Right there, right between them. That's
1,400 people. High school graduating class of 32.
Oh, my goodness.
The kids I graduated high school with, I went to kindergarten with.
Good
It's
night.
that's
Good night.
white people and corn and soybeans as far as you can see.
Wow. A little different for me. I was raised in Crown Point, which is right on the other side of Chicago.
Mm-hmm.
But Crown Point, Indiana started the rolling cornfields of
Yes.
Indiana. So kind of had both worlds. But yeah, raised very conservative. We had an intimate personal relationship with sound doctrine. And it's just, personal relationship with God. Oh, that was jargon. There was
Yep.
really no protocol for that actually existing.
Right.
It was so yes. And I was a closet everything. Which because it wasn't safe to
Sure.
be who you were.
No.
No.
Oh, no.
No. So yeah, I had an interesting high school. I don't remember high school too much. I was stoned most of it.
I wish I had gone down that path.
Oh, I will. I did.
I don't remember most of high school, and what I do remember is pretty negative. I
Yeah.
was diagnosed with depression in
Mhm.
my freshman year, and my parents took me out of school and homeschooled me for a bit, or hired a teacher to come in and homeschool me. And it was a combination of things. It'd being different in a small town where there's lots of cliques at that time. And
Yeah, and there's nowhere to hide.
no,
Right.
no.
Yeah, for me, this is in the 70s, now mind you, because I think I'm a little older than you
A
are.
little bit.
And yeah, you just hid. That was my
Yeah.
life. There was no such thing as depression as a kid or
Mhm.
anxiety. No, we didn't have any of that. ADD didn't
Yep,
even
right.
start emerging until the early 80s
Right.
to speak of. And so, okay, yet I digress. So as soon as I got out of high school, I went right to Bible college. It's in Montana, a little Bible college in Montana. It was a kind of a daughter school of Philadelphia College of Bible and Moody Bible Institute
Okay.
downtown
Yep.
Chicago.
Okay.
And eventually got kicked out of there. Just yeah, I kind of got a laundry list of places I've been
stoned
kicked out of.
for Bible college.
No, actually, I honestly kind of forget what all that was about. But it's okay.
Isn't that interesting how the brain does that?
Right. I couldn't conform. And yet my entire life was about conforming. And I don't even get me started on the shame that developed in my identity. And I can't do anything right. I can't live up to the standard. And of course, there's more than religious issues involved there.
Sure.
There's just a lot of twists in the psyche growing up for other reasons other than religion, but religion certainly didn't help. So when I left that school, eventually got into Philadelphia College of Bible out in Philadelphia, where I continued to pursue biblical studies. Ultimately, finally, after a number of years, graduated from Trinity, what is now Trinity University, up in Deerfield, Illinois, with a communications major, interesting enough, not media communication, interpersonal skills communication,
Right.
with a couple of minors, biblical studies and psychology. So I didn't stick to I'm going to be a pastor or go to seminary.
Right.
It was I always felt like my life was going to somehow be in meaningful service. I always have had a heartbreak for the underserved. And it definitely didn't get that from religion because do as I say, not as I do.
Right.
I mean,
That's interesting too, because the lip service was always there.
Yeah.
I mean, so I grew up in a First Christian church, very vanilla, whatever, Calvin, and
yeah, good old Calvin.
and when I moved out,
And you had no choice but to
I
move out, 'cause you're
started to
Calvin.
right. When I moved out, I started going to a Church of God
Oh,
with a
my
girl
God.
that I was seeing.
Oh,
right?
hello. Here we go.
Yep.
Yeah, we haven't gotten to that chapter of my life yet. Go ahead.
Wow. And it was boy, what a different world that was.
Yes.
I don't even know what the hell we were talking about now. I just had waves of flashback hitting me.
Yeah.
Anyway.
Oh,
it was
ages.
while I was there though. It was the walk part. So this church was in a not that great neighborhood. Did we ever venture out into the neighborhood to help fix fences or paint people's houses or do anything to help anyone who was not a member of the church? Of course not.
No.
Of course not. We talked a lot about it. Good lip service, but we never actually went and did it.
I got a story off that. Many years ago, I did a charismatic. I went the charismatic route, and that's a whole other story. But in one of those said churches, they had home groups, and so they would put pastors in place of all these different home groups, and I was a home group pastor. And every home group was required to have some sort of outreach. And so I was like really excited, man. This is going to be the church that really cares about the community, et cetera, et cetera. I said, hey, you know who really, really needs us are inmates. You know, we can all get go through whatever process necessary to be able to have small groups in prison.
Mm-hmm.
We got Polk City right up here. I mean, we have a number of places that we can minister, and just give these people some hope and some relationship, some friendship, extend some community to these people behind bars.
Mm-hmm.
Well, I got reprimanded for that. And I got reprimanded because ultimately I realized because these people can't come to church and pay tithes.
Mm-hmm.
That wasn't the point. The point was to build the home group. I'm like, yeah, okay.
Yeah. Nope.
And then then they actually removed me from being a pastor of the home group because I contended with their contract. It's people call it membership, right?
Mm-hmm.
Right.
Mm-hmm.
No, it's a contract,
Mm-hmm.
So that they can count the tithe.
Yep.
And I wasn't giving them 40%. Jesus,
Wow.
I wasn't giving them 10% of
Inflation.
Yeah, inflation,
You know.
right, of my income. Instead, what I was doing was I was spending 4 hours every week mowing the church yard because it was huge
Mm-hmm.
and tending to the building needs in lieu of my tithe because my income was so incredibly small at that time. Well, that wasn't, 10%.
that doesn't count.
Yeah, 10%
Right,
of
no.
your time doesn't count.
Mm-mm.
It has to be 10% of your money. And as okay, yeah, fuck you.
Yes.
So I eventually got out of that church. My gosh. Yeah. Yeah. Anyway.
So you see, for those of you who've been watching for any length of time, will recognize that we tend to find ourselves drawn to each other. We misfits.
Yes.
Those of us who nobody else wants to work with. We talk about the It Takes a Village coalition.
Yeah.
And who's that? It's the Unitarian Universalists. Well, they're kind of a church, but they're the weird ones. And the atheists and Planned Parenthood and all of these groups that, nobody wants to talk to in public, at least.
Yeah.
They'll answer the phone if you call them, maybe, but they don't want to have to see you at the grocery store. So
That's funny.
So that's what I love about all of us little misfits that have come
Yes.
together and said, we still want to do good things, and we're good people and we have a lot to give. What if we all come together and do things together? And
Oh
I
my
think
God.
that's so awesome.
It is, and that's how the church, for example, Christianity in America used to be.
Mm-hmm.
100 years ago, the social gospel. They took it upon themselves. They were the welfare system of the day.
Right.
And when the church did its thing,
Yeah.
so many people left disenfranchised, and the government had to step in.
Yeah.
And thankfully, I'm grateful that the
Yeah.
government stepped in. But at church, you have no business complaining. You need to shut up. If you're not going to let the government do your job,
Right.
then guess
Right.
what you get to start doing? Your job.
Yeah, it's when help the help the needy and the destitute and the homeless and became help the needy if they join our church.
Yes.
Or
Yes.
as we often bitch about here, you can have a hot meal after service.
Yeah.
Like, come on.
Salvation Army.
Just
I
take
love them, but that was their thing. You know, we have to make sure your souls are saved before we can feed you.
Yep. Well, that's something that we learned setting up It Takes a Village. Just the number and Street Warriors that we're doing now too. Just the number of faith-based programs that are still operating in the county on that model.
Mhm.
That you will study the Bible with us before you can stay at our shelter. Kind
Right.
of model. And to me, that's just it's offensive because it's preying on people in
Yes.
their hour of need.
Yes.
And I was taught, and maybe this is the church I grew up in, but they will know you by your fruits.
Mhm.
And so go be a good person and do the right things. And that shows the love of Jesus to others. And you don't need to force them to comply and do all of these, things first.
Yeah, there was no coercion on Jesus's part when he fed 5,000 people twice. He didn't say, "No, you got to listen to my sermon, and then I'll feed you." Yeah, they were there because they wanted to be there. He just happened to care. His heart was moved. Well, gee, there's a thought. Yeah, his ledger wasn't moved. His heart was moved.
Right.
Yeah.
I feel, and I've said this before, I've said this a lot recently, and maybe it's just the track that we've been on the past 4 years, but the general level of compassion and empathy for others is terrifyingly rare.
Yes.
Terrifyingly rare.
Because it's not nurtured.
Mm-hmm.
It's not nurtured in the religious system. Bottom line.
Or elsewhere. I mean, just socially. That's not something that we...
But you know where it is nurtured? So my son and I go to Pride in the Park.
Yeah, we love Pride in the Park.
In Lakeland. And there's this really tall, cool-looking guy with a shirt that says "Free Dad Hugs."
Mm-hmm.
Wow.
Yep.
And that man gave my child the father hug he hadn't had in years.
We cried about this story for days afterwards.
There was compassion and mercy and love.
Mhm.
That was Jesus. Atheist Jesus.
Yep.
I loved it.
Kind of looks like it too.
Yeah, he does, doesn't he? No, that
Yeah.
where
Yes.
there is love, where there is that human tenderness, there is who I term God.
Mm-hmm. Pride in the Park really surprised us the first couple of years that we went. Polk County kind of has a,
Well, yeah, Polk County.
a reputation that kind of precedes us.
Yes.
We got Grady. We got meth. We got all this is the hill folk between Orlando and Tampa. We have this thing this cloud. And then we went to Pride for the first year. I don't know. We were doing the other podcast. Set up a booth at Pride to do the podcast. Shocked at the number of people. And then the next year it was 20% more, and the next year 20% more than that.
Yeah.
Like it's growing and growing, and we're going to be doing a parade before you know it.
Yeah.
There will be a Pride parade along with this event, but it's a whole week long of events.
Now, yeah.
And I was just like, wow, because being a trans person in that conservative rural Polk County cloud
And
that
where you
tends
live.
to follow us
Are
around,
you insane?
right? Right.
No sense of self-preservation, do you?
So, yeah, I was very pleasantly surprised.
A lot of camaraderie.
Yeah.
I think it spoke to the county.
Yeah.
And I think a lot of people have backed off.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
And Lakeland itself, it's kind of like, so if you remember the commercial where the Dawn dishwashing, the one drop goes in and all the scum and stuff goes off to the side. Yeah, that's Lakeland. Lakeland's that drop of Dawn. Nice, clean center. Phew.
Yes.
And then all the scum goes off to the
what I think it shows is that the image that is out there of the county is a caricature. It is not a realistic thing. Okay, anyway, let's let's talk about so at some point then you shrug off organized religion as you had known it.
Yeah.
And moved into more of a spiritual sort of place.
Wow.
Understanding of things.
Well,
how would you describe that?
Deconstruction. Yeah. So probably about 15 years ago, actually, it was the straw that broke the camel's back in the church that I was in at the time. Just a lot of just waking up in the midst of it. For example, I was a worship leader for a pretty popular local minister, reasonably large church. And it was a Sunday morning, and she gets up at the mic and talks about how amazing worship was the Wednesday before, and how the Spirit just fell. You know, I hope he didn't hurt himself, but it just God showed up. You know, like. Yeah. Right there is I'm going down a path that I want to rip somebody's lungs out. But anyway, and I remember thinking to myself in that moment, I was there. Matter of fact, I was the worship leader that Wednesday night. This lady's fucking lying. She is lying through her teeth. Wake up.
Yeah.
You know, and every now and then, just little alarm clocks. Hit me, and that was an alarm clock. And it was also at a time where I just had to enough of this. I couldn't contain not being the free person that I am. Yep. And long story short, without getting into all the crappy details, they handed me my hat, and I never went back. Now, my brother and I, we're real close. We do a lot of studio recording. We've got a few albums out. I love singing. I love music. I love worship. But what I couldn't stand was the narcissism embedded in this concept of worship. God is someone who must be praised.
Yep.
Like, no. You know, and if that's him, he's pretty insecure. And so I want somebody else. Yep. This isn't the one. This one isn't working for me. He's too insecure for me.
Right.
You know, and it wasn't, it just all finally boiled down, synthesized my understanding of the divine. I like using the word the divine. The sentient, whoever it is. He, she, they, them. Matter of fact, God calls himself they, them. In Genesis. Let us make them in our image. He is a they, them. He is a she, it says in Isaiah, a nurturing mother. So, whatever, don't even get me going down that track. But anyway, it just looks, worship, music was about interconnectivity, interpersonal responses, emotional responses, mental responses, spiritual responses to an experience that I am personally having.
Yes.
And so our worship ended up being that. So Scott and all we did was we'd get on our instruments, and a lot of it was just what we call open worship. It was just welcoming this sort of tenderness into the room. And people would just get healed. People would change. And then move on. Some of the people who were involved in our church are now shamans. Like, wait, we didn't do that.
Yeah.
It's kind of like, we didn't teach that. You know? What was that? But
you created a space for them to safely explore and
to be
find
them.
them.
Exactly. To find, and then eventually we ended up with an empty room. It was like, you know, and like I said earlier, we could have gone the route of marketing our product, but that would clearly defy everything that we had just evolved into.
Right.
You know, that would be kind of stupid.
Music was one of those big things for me, and you can tell.
Yeah. That was awesome.
We'll jam in a little while.
All right.
I have always been into music. I've always played an instrument of some sort, many instruments. And when I was going to this Church of God, the youth pastor and I were doing one-on-one Bible study, and he approached me about being in the praise band. And so I did that. And that's actually, I guess it started there, and then it led to the one-on-one Bible study, because it was, well, if we're going to put you up on the stage, you know, we need to make sure that you're going to project the image that should be projected.
Mm-hmm.
So we're going to do all of this other stuff. And I was young and dumb and on board with it. I'd love to sit down with this guy again and have a conversation all these years later, because it was that one-on-one Bible study that broke my shelf. It was, let's actually read the Bible and study it and what it means and write down all the truths and the promises. And the more I read, the less I believed. It just really boiled down to the fantastical claims just couldn't go there. And so I walked away from it. And then I would describe myself as like an apatheist for several years, like in that I don't know, I didn't even think about it. It wasn't part of my identity. It wasn't part of my mind. I wasn't thinking, is there, isn't there? So I just lived my life as if there wasn't. And at some point that clicked to me as being noteworthy.
Mm-hmm.
And then I came out and transitioned. And I started seeing all of this bullshit. North Carolina's House Bill 2 was kind of the first big domino.
Yeah.
Where the Christian right came out to say, you're a man.
Yeah.
And that's that.
Yeah.
Because God made you a man, and you shouldn't get to go into this bathroom. And by the way, somebody should conversion therapy you too. And so all of this political stuff started stacking up against what at the time I was, let people believe whatever they want. It's not hurting anybody. Bullshit. It's hurting people. And so that's when I became the angry atheist. That's when I went through that lashing out, back out against religion of how dare you do this stuff to people I love and to people like me, to me. And then I've sort of grown a little beyond that too, of we're still gonna, I'm still interested in fighting that church-state separation stuff and making sure that people are protected, but I'm not as angry about it and not as emotional about it as when I first went through it. And now I think I've moved into a clearer headspace where, where it's more about reaching out to the individuals in the community and people that we wouldn't normally hang out and interact with, like going to Lake Wales and that whole adventure.
Yeah, that was fun to watch that. It's like, wow. Okay, he's got a death wish.
But we've got to show that that we're not what you think we are. We're not who you think we are. Right. And we're not going to do that by us sitting in our little in-group and you sitting in your little in-group, and the two shall never meet.
Right, exactly. And here we are.
Yeah.
The way it's overlapped there. And it's interesting. I think when we are forced to reconcile within ourselves who we are, there is this sort of healing that takes place in that. This is sort of finding the missing pieces of me, coming together and being who I am. And as you were going through your angry atheist phase, it was forcing you to reconcile yourself. It was forcing you to solidify your sense of who you were so that you could move into this, you know what? I kind of feel more sorry for you now than angry.
Yep.
I'm still angry at the policy.
Yep.
And I'm going to change this policy with every breath I have. But I'm no longer looking at the people inherent on the other side as themselves anything other than just delusional.
Yeah. I think I describe this as a bridge between atheism and humanism.
Yeah.
Right. Where we often talk about like atheism tells you what I believe or don't believe, what I don't believe. But it doesn't tell you what I do believe. It doesn't tell you what my values are. It just tells you that, do I accept proposition that a God exists? No. And that's it. That's all atheism says about me. But when I say I'm a humanist, then there's all of these other things
all
that
kinds
flow
of overlap.
flow with it.
Right. That's us. I mean,
Yeah.
we're humanists.
Yes.
And that's where we overlap.
Yep. And so again, that healing of like
Mm-hmm.
taking people from angry to healed through that process to get more people towards humanism so that we can all go out and be productive in good ways out in the community.
That's right. That's right. I have a mental health counseling master's degree from USF and did that because I've found an enormous amount of unwellness in leadership, which really started Salt of the Earth International. We're 501c3, have been since 95. And we started out as Levite ministry. And what we did was we worked with worship teams around the county, the state, and actually the United States. We did quite a bit of traveling over a number of years, where we went out and we helped churches raise up these musicians within their midst instead of having hirelings come in. And we would train worship leaders. We would train guitarists and drummers and keyboardists in a relatively short period of time. So I wrote curriculum for all of this stuff. And it was really a good time. But what we kept coming across when it would be time to teach what worship really was, there was just so much unwellness, so much codependency, if you will, power struggles among pastors and worship leaders, and insecurity, total insecurity, and of identity. So went down a path, actually wrote a book about the Christian identity, who I am apart from. If who I am is tied to the volume of my guitar, I'm going to react in a very negative way. If who I am is not tied to the volume of my guitar, I'll turn my volume down. But we didn't find that. So I found myself really starting a counsel practice, more of a pastoral spiritual care, and went and got my master's degree for that purpose, and still provide that service. I was going somewhere with that. Doggone it.
This is what happens to me all the time.
No, I was going somewhere really important with that. That was the backstory to saying something really, really important, so important that I put it somewhere and I can't remember where I put it. I'll come up with
It'll come to us.
Yeah, I'll break in.
So you answered the next question.
That's what it.
Okay, great.
The path of so how we evolved into who we are today.
Yes.
So found myself doing more of that counseling, more of dealing with identity issues and the souls of the heart, the wounds. I'm sorry, souls. The wounds of the heart, the wounds of the soul, the wounds of the mind, and got a little further away from us as a ministry of music into more of taking care of and helping people evolve into, in some cases, de-evolve from, evolve into healthy, independent individuals. And a lot of these people that we worked with have since left the church. But that's not necessarily a badge. Well, it's a badge. Okay, it's a badge. it's a notch in the belt. But they left not because we talked them into leaving. They left because they became healthy individuals as a result of that. Let's look inward,
right?
Kind of thing. And the beautiful part about this is that the book that I wrote, What About Me? The Forbidden Question, What About Me? Is all about, man, why is my brain doing this? Why are these enormous brain farts? I'm surprised you can't hear them over the microphone. Evolving, and what about, and da-da-da-da-da.
You wrote the book. It's about.
Yeah. I used 100% scripture with the context, because even at the time, this was still my frame of reference, that the Bible is an inerrant,
Right.
God-breathed
Yep.
book.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, well, let's use this inerrant, God-breathed book
Mm-hmm.
and show you how full of shit you are. And it did beautifully, actually more contextually than religious theology or doctrine. And so it really started shaking things up a little bit, to break apart this, by the way, you've become the thing Jesus hates. Just saying, you remember that the whole table throwing thing with it? Yeah, guess what? You're it. Yes. So using solid scripture, if you will. And, of course, I love the Greek language. But the more I even grew from understanding Greek and Hebrew, the more you realize, of course, the more you explore the reality of the Bible, the more you realize that the Greek, which is the Greek translation of some Aramaic text that we don't have into English, is kind of like saying the quote-unquote original language is understanding Japanese through German.
Right.
It's a ridiculous notion that you can understand the original language. We don't even have any of it in the original language, except for the old, what we coined the Old Testament, which I have since discovered an enormity of problems.
Mm-hmm.
One of my favorite is David, and how Goliath, right? So David kills Goliath. Did you realize that Goliath was from a clan or a species, if you will, of human that predated the flood? But wait a minute, I thought all humans died in the flood.
Yeah.
I mean, there's a whole clan of people that didn't die in the flood.
Right.
So a number of challenges. But anyway, don't even get me down on that.
No, I think that is a lot of this. The sort of thing that a lot of atheists point to go, okay, if there are some glaring issues like that, how can we take on faith that any of the miraculous claims are true? Yeah.
And I have no problems with the miraculous claims not being true. Even in the day, I wouldn't have a problem with them not being true, because that wasn't the point.
Right.
The point is to have an interconnectivity with the Creator in our context. That was the point. But anyway. Yeah.
Okay, so Salt of the Earth International now.
So we went through this process. I stopped working in churches. We moved more toward a humanitarian thing. So after my master's, I went ahead and went right into my PhD, because quite frankly, I couldn't afford to pay back my master's. So I thought I'd just collect more debt.
Right.
It made sense at the time.
Hey, that's the American way.
That's the American way. I owe more in student loans than I do on my house. So anyway.
Hopefully we can get those taken care of for you.
I'm all for that.
Yeah, me too. And I don't have any. Yeah,
Thank you for fighting for me.
I'm here for you.
Love you, bro. Sis, sorry. Where was I? Oh, yeah. So when I started on my PhD and found out through some research that in Detroit, actually Rapid City, Michigan, because my PhD is in human services, administration for the most part, but still about the human need, and found out about this disparity among children who would have lunch on a Friday at school and then not get another meal until they were back at school Monday morning. Breakfast.
If the school had breakfast.
If the school had breakfast.
Right.
Exactly.
Right.
So this huge organization in Rapid City sending food home with these kids on the weekends. And that was so inspiring to me that I sat down with the board and I said, we've got to do something else. This isn't, okay, we've got this, we're reaching out here, there, and the other place. But you know what? No. there is a greater need here, and the board is 1,000,000% behind me.
Yep.
Always has been with these changes. And I said, I think the first thing we need to do is have less of a religious appearance, if you will.
Right.
If this is going to work, if we're going to get people involved in this, we can't pigeonhole ourselves. So I think the first thing we need to do is change our name. And so as a board, we decided to change from Levite Ministries, Salt of the Earth, and then Salt of the Earth International, because we have ties with some other communities outside of the United States where we're helping them with humanitarian causes.
Yep.
So we started doing that, I think in 2010 was when we started. It may have been a little bit earlier, but a little over 10 years ago. We started buying food and determining what would work, what would hold kids over on the weekends. A few years later, Polk Project came to the forefront, where they started doing the backpack program, and of course they had the funding.
Yep.
And thank God, I mean, they're everywhere. Just about any school in Polk County can use Polk Project and get these foods. We're different in a number of ways, but I like I said, I'm thankful for them. So we just started doing that and started growing. We started getting different churches involved. At one point, we were in a little under a dozen schools, and we had quite a few churches, mostly churches involved. And the criteria out the gate was, whereas the church is going to know that, the school is going to know that it's your church. The kids may or may not know it's your church.
Right.
And you will.
And it's because it's not about that.
Right. And I said, and you cannot put flyers in your bags.
Yep.
You cannot put any sort of information about who you are in these bags, because this is about the pure deal.
Yep.
We want to take care of these kids. We want these kids to eat. Now, they'll have access to knowing who you are if they want.
Yep.
But it's in the parents' hands to do that, which is one of the big differences between us and the Polk Project. Polk Project, everybody knows it's Polk Project. Now, there's a lot of organizations supporting Polk Project. There's a lot of churches putting together their packages, but nobody has any idea that it's First Church of Sally Q helping out.
Yeah.
But with us, for example, over at Caldwell with you guys, they're going to know it's you.
Yep.
And we're going to go into obscurity. We're the force behind it. Salt of the Earth is force behind it. But we're not the frontliners.
Right.
You guys are. And it's about the community recognizing that you are playing a vital role in the human services of our community.
Yep. And it's made it, it makes it so easy for groups like ours to do. We don't have to go do all the sourcing and shopping.
Right.
You handle that.
Right. We handle that.
We get our little group together and pack it up each week and then deliver it to the school. So it brings that barrier to entry down a lot.
Yeah.
If you're a small group and you're thinking about like, oh, I want to make an impact. Yes, it costs. We have to purchase the food. But as far as the time commitment and all of that kind of thing, it's made it very, very easy. So go to polkatheists.org/donate and help us keep the program going.
Yeah.
Thankfully, we landed some grant money this year that allowed us to do a whole lot of service projects out in the community, start a bunch of new things. So we're, super thankful for that. And now the goal is let's get it set up to keep going. Let's keep it, keep the motion moving.
That's where the challenge tends to be.
Yeah.
Is keeping it moving.
Yep. So that's the backpack program. And we launched last week. Yeah, last week.
Last week.
Yep. Rachel and Keith have been, this has been on their wish list since the beginning, really.
Yeah.
But since Pride, probably.
Yeah, since we met, right,
we first met and talked about it. And the financial barrier was really a barrier to entry for us at that time. So now we're in a good place that we can do it. And when I think about, my God, we started this in March of last year, like really started. And now we're doing the Street Warriors Winter Haven project,
Yeah,
feeding people who
yeah.
are experiencing homelessness. We helped start up the It Takes a Village program. We're doing this backpack program. Holy cow. Just the amount of shit that we've done in a short amount of time
Yeah, you know, sir,
is
Jesus,
impressive
Jesus is
to me.
really proud of you. I just want you to know that.
He's working in my life. Ah.
Nice to see you. Nice to see you. You got it.
Yes. Is there anything else you want to talk about with that program, with what you do as far as Salt of the Earth?
You know, I do want to share one story. When we first started out, and we were at a church. It was a Methodist church, and the pastor had given me some time at the pulpit to talk about the program. And after that particular morning, a lady came up afterwards, and she says, "You know, I'm a lunch lady. I work at trying to, I think it was Jesse Keene, or no, Comby Elementary. I work at Comby Elementary School." And sorry. She said to me, there was a little boy who came through the lunch line on a Friday and started stuffing his pockets full of ketchup packets. And this lady says, "You know, honey, you can't do that. You can't do it." This little boy broke down and said, "I have to, because my baby sister needs something to eat this weekend." Could you imagine the burden that boy bore?
Our kids shouldn't have to worry
No.
about shit like that.
No. No,
Oh. Yeah.
They shouldn't.
Yep.
That so solidified what we were doing. And it is true. There are 4,000, over 4,000 children right here in Polk County,
Mhm.
right in our backyard, that run the risk of going home and not eating until Monday when they're back at school.
Mhm.
They run the risk of being food deprived, food deficient. Nice big bite of that, you know, with Polk Project and with what we're doing, and other organizations around the county, but it's not done yet. It's not done.
No.
And especially now in this pandemic.
Yeah. That was one of the things that really hit home when we started doing It Takes a Village, was just the number of people who, like, you knew there was a problem.
Yeah.
And then this pandemic hit and people are laid off, furloughed, fired, out of work. Our government dropped the fucking ball.
Yeah.
And refused to
Yep.
take care of people.
Yeah.
And so we're talking about the It Takes a Village program, and like as a group of leaders, we've been discussing, you know, what does that look like? What's the future? This is something that we really sort of built to plug into the hole where the pandemic has created this extra need.
Yeah.
But when the pandemic is over with and we all have our vaccinations, those of us who are smart enough to trust vaccine science, food insecurity is not going away.
No, it's not. It was there before.
It was there before. It'll be there after, and it's a big problem. It's not a minor thing.
Well, and the numbers that I've got actually are very old. And they're old because apparently we can't trust the 2020 census information. As you know, it's in the news.
Mm-hmm.
So we can only go by it. And it was on the rise when we got these numbers.
Right.
So we don't know that in the last 8, 9, 10 years that the reality isn't doubled.
Right.
That the reality isn't more like 8,000 kids that are food deprived.
And I know if y'all have been listening for a long time, I'm sorry, you're going to have to hear this all over again. And I'm going to keep saying it until you fucking get it. We have the means.
Yes, we do.
Homelessness could be solved by dinner.
Yep.
If we just did it.
Yes. Yes.
If we just did it.
Yes.
There is no reason why anyone should have to sleep under a bridge tonight.
No.
No reason at all. And shame on us for not taking care of that. For not seeing the humanity in each other enough to say, I don't know you and you may be real different from me, but you shouldn't have to go through life like this.
Yeah.
God, it just pisses me off. Sorry.
No, I hear you. And we have the means.
Yep. The richest nation in the world.
Right.
Yep.
We could end poverty tomorrow. We could end homelessness tomorrow. And it is all because of greed.
Yep.
It's just greed.
Yep. Where can people go find more about you and your organization?
Well,
if they want to know more,
you could go to the center of Lakeland and drive in ever-widening circles. We're at SOTEI.org. That's saltoftheearthinternational.org to find out more information about us and about what we do. And we're going to be updating some things on that site finally.
Yeah.
So give me a minute. Let me get home.
But seriously, though, if you're local and you're involved in an organization and you want to do something like this, seriously, it is one of the easiest things to get involved with, and it makes a huge impact in the lives of these kids.
Yeah.
So
and you know what? I would be more than happy to help anybody with their organization do this independently.
Right.
Apart from us.
Yep.
We don't need our label on there.
Mm-hmm.
You know, we're not interested in creating some sort of empire.
Right.
You know, we just want to see people eat.
Yeah.
We just want to see kids come to school Monday morning able to learn.
Mm-hmm.
And not spending the entire day just trying to get out of the poverty of the weekend so that they can start learning English or learning math. We got to break these cycles, and this is one of the ways that we do it. But yeah, I'd be happy to say, hey, look, this is how we do it. Let me help you set up, and bye.
Yeah. So even if you're not local and you want to know how it works,
I'll come out and help you get set up. Now I do have a unique position where I know a lot of the guidance counselors around, and that's really the doorway that we go through is the guidance counselors in these different schools. And what you would do is you would adopt, if you wanted, adopt the nearest elementary school or middle school to your organization, so that the community can take care of the community. Yeah,
it's great. I'm so glad we were able to get involved.
Yeah, me too.
So let's zoom out then and talk about another organization that we are going to support in an upcoming program that does a lot of work from a humanist perspective on poverty and other things. And that is Foundation Beyond Belief.
Yes.
Are you familiar with Foundation Beyond Belief?
Yes, I am.
So on December 12th, I have decided that I will host a live stream-a-thon to benefit Foundation Beyond Belief.
Nice.
Here's how this happened. So they do an annual appeal, as nonprofits often do. And in the messaging this time, they said to all of us groups who are part of the volunteer network, we would like for you to consider doing a fundraiser for your organization, and then tack on Foundation Beyond Belief. So they were asking for an 80-20 split in our favor.
Okay.
And then I started plotting and planning, and the further along I got, I can't in good conscience do that at all. So this is 100% towards Foundation Beyond Belief.
Absolutely.
So they are, of all the partnerships that we have with national and international organizations, They're one of the most valuable to us. They do small grants. So like our group will go out and do Street Warriors, and the team will report back how many volunteers there were, start time, stop time, how many people we served, all of that information. And then I pass that along to Foundation Beyond Belief, and they keep track of each team and how much we're doing. And then once you get to certain levels, like they convert that to points, and then you get to certain levels, and at those certain levels come small grants to put back towards a project that you're doing.
Nice.
So we've been able to work for some money, and it's just a self-perpetuating mechanism.
Yeah. Yeah.
So that has been completely invaluable, because again, when you're new and you don't know where donations are going to come from, in the early days of an organization, it's nice to have that. So we're part of the Foundation Beyond Belief Volunteer Network. They do a lot of work around disaster recovery and relief.
Nice. Yes.
All over the world. They have a program around women's rights and poverty alleviation in Ghana.
Nice.
And all of that again comes from this sort of secular humanism perspective, right? The idea that that by the simple very fact that we are all human, we are more alike than we are different, and we should be compelled to help each other and take care of each other. That there is that value, and so I think it's fitting that you get to be here when we announce this big show, because that's what we're doing, coming together despite our beliefs, despite our differences, to do good things, to help people. And that's what Foundation Beyond Belief is just really all about, right? No proselytizing, no converting, no deconverting. Right. Let's just help people. Right. So here's the pitch, right? 2020 has just totally kicked all of our asses. Right? Now, many of us have lost loved ones.
Yes.
Maybe you were furloughed or lost your job, we talked about. Maybe you're a frontline worker and you just haven't had a break. The economy may have affected your personal situation. A lot of people are affected. And we're not out of the woods yet, of course. In fact, cases are rising again. Wear your masks.
Yes, please.
And since we shouldn't be gathering, I don't know if you know this or not, but atheists love a good convention. And we've had to cancel a bunch of them this year. So scratch the big holiday gathering. It's not safe.
Yeah.
Don't do it.
Yeah.
And besides, you don't want to get into another argument with Uncle Frank anyway. So instead, make plans to come hang out with us at Holiday Cheer, a charity live stream-a-thon. Saturday night, December 12th, from 7 p.m. to midnight Eastern, although we may start a little earlier.
Yeah.
There's a couple people I'm waiting to respond to see if they want to be involved, and I may have to add time. And I'd rather add it on the front end than the back end. I don't want to go to 1 a.m. if I don't have to. So I'll be live streaming. My special co-host will be Mama Ashley Rose from the Rose Dynasty Foundation, who we just love. She is, I believe, probably the only family-friendly drag performer in the world. And she does, with her foundation, a lot of work with GRSM youth. And I love these kids so much. They are so cool. They're putting on a live stream show. Gizmo. They're doing a live stream talent show. Yeah, if you want to. This Friday. And so they did one in May, I believe, this talent show where they were raising money for the It Takes a Village program, which is again is a weird sort of it's a coalition of the outcasts, but the way that it's structured, sort of formally, like everything goes through the Unitarian Universalist. And it's housed at their building and all of that stuff. And so we're operating off of the kindness of Feeding Tampa Bay for delivering our food, and our volunteers who do all the driving and delivering. So there's not a cash flow that's coming in there either. So these kids put on a talent show to raise funds for It Takes a Village.
Oh, wow.
And they're just so good. They're such cool kids. And I can call them kids because I'm old. So anyway, yeah, I'm a kid. So anyway, Mama Ashley Rose is going to co-host, and I'm hoping to get the kids to do a song with me. So we'll see if we can get that worked out.
Nice.
Anyway, so it is Holiday Cheer is going to be like a holiday themed variety show style telethon. We're getting the whole extended family together. We have people from our local community who are working on musical performances, storytelling, comedy, that will be featured throughout the night. And there's a whole bunch of folks from the broader secular community who are going to be dropping in to visit, some who are recording things for us to enjoy. And there's a big graphic you can click on. Let me see if I can switch over to the website. There's a big graphic right on our main website at polkatheists.org. You can look at and see all the details. Now, of course, the lineup is subject to change without notice, but check this out. We have Mandisa Thomas from Black Nonbelievers.
Nice.
The Rough and Tumble is a musical group that's going to come on live and perform.
Great.
Phil Session, who is quite possibly the bar setter when it comes to volunteering and humanitarian aid. No Illusions, who was just on Freethought in Florida recently to talk about his book, Outbreak, A Crisis of Faith, How Religion Ruined Our Global Pandemic. Now, we talked, he got cut off right at the end, so we didn't get to finish our interview, so maybe we'll talk a little bit about that some more too. Of course, you'll know Noah from the Scathing Atheist podcast. Anthony Magnabosco is probably best known for street epistemology, where he goes out into the world and finds random strangers to have conversations with using the Socratic method to help people unpack things that they believe are true and sort of poke through whether or not their reasons for such are valid, are good reasons. And
giving people permission to question what they believe.
Yeah. Oh, it's so interesting. Hemant Mehta is the friendly atheist. He does a lot of reporting around secular issues. Brentley and Nikki are the hosts of the Unapologetics podcast. They're our good friends from over in the Tampa, Clearwater, St. Pete area.
Unapologetics. I love that. That's perfect.
Shelley Siegel is she's been on the show recently too. Just an amazing musician from Australia. She's going to be recording something for us. Tracy Harris, who you probably know from her time on the Atheist Experience and Godless Bitches. She did some select readings from Dickens' A Christmas Carol.
Ooh.
And if you take about a minute and thread that needle, the story, the journey that Scrooge goes on, and the organization that we're supporting, by the time I got to her final clip, gave me chills.
Yes.
Oh, so good. Yeah. And then, of course, Mama Ashley Rose, my co-host extraordinaire. It's going to be a blast.
Yeah.
Oh, it's going to be so much fun.
I think we're going to try and record something and send your way.
Yes. Yep. I hope that a lot of folks get some stuff put together. Yeah. Ed and Carol did some things that are just hilarious. I think that was Carol at the door just now that got the dog barking, dropping it off. So I can't wait to see what she did. She's telling a Christmas story too, although it's not made to be debatable. Rachel and Keith are going to set up a silent auction to run in conjunction with the event. I've seen some of the pieces that people have donated to be auctioned off. So that it's just going to be, the whole thing is just going to be so much fun. And we're raising money for Foundation Beyond Belief to support their ongoing work and the creation of new programs, which they haven't told me what those are yet, but maybe we can, of course, they will be on the program too. Some folks from FBB to talk about what they do, and maybe we can get them to leak some of this new programs. I want to know what's coming.
Yeah.
Yeah. So December 12th, put it on the calendar. Make a plan to come to our family get-together. Make a plan to donate to Foundation Beyond Belief during the event. It's going to be a blast.
Sounds it. Boy.
Yeah.
That's awesome.
Yeah. Yeah. Keith, I think Keith sent me something to learn on guitar for you. I don't know.
Oh, I got to find out what key he's got it in first.
That's what I asked. And he, as a, sorry, Keith, he's watching. Oh, what was the silly thing that he said? Because that's the first thing I asked was, okay, what key?
Right.
I'm pretty sure it's standard E tuning. Now, I know how to tune my guitar, honey. Oh, I love you, Keith. You're such a drummer.
Yeah, how can you tell there's a drummer at the door? Yeah, the knock speeds up.
Oh, my gosh. Oh, my God, that's brilliant.
How did two prophets greet each other? You're fine, how am I?
Oh, my God. You need to record some jokes for the big telethon. All right, so
I'll stick to singing.
Again, give Linda about 24 hours to update the website, and then go to sotei.org. Hey, thanks for coming all the way down here.
You're welcome.
And for being a great friend and partner, and just doing good for goodness sake.
Hey, I look forward to a very bright future between our organizations.
Absolutely.
Yeah, let's change this world.
You got it.
All right.
We're here for it.
Amen.
Oh, man. See, this is what happens when you try to do a live production. There you go. All right. My thanks again to Dr. Linda Spaulding, founder and executive director of Salt of the Earth International. SOTEI.org is the website. Again, Freethought in Florida is available on YouTube, Facebook, all your favorite podcast players. And you can find the subscribe links at our website. Please like, subscribe, and share out these episodes. We want to reach a broader audience, especially for the upcoming telethon. You can find out all about our organization or make a donation at polkatheists.org and follow at Polk Atheists on all the social media. And of course, the three most important things: don't touch anything, wash your hands, and wear your damn mask.
Yeah.
Be safe, everybody. We'll see you on the next Freethought in Florida.